Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. It is me, Joy Jacket. Today we're doing something that I've been eager to do and that I was excited to prepare for, which is a Luca Guadagnino film ranking. I love Luca Guadagnino. He's probably one of the only directors where I'm like, first of all, he's probably one of the only directors where now I can say I've seen 95% of their stuff. This is not a complete ranking of his feature films. He has two movies that I wrote down for this moment that I did not watch and will not rank. We have The Protagonist, which I believe is his first feature film in 1999, and then we have Melissa P. 2005. So I'm not going to be ranking those. Everything after, which the first one is I Am Love 2009, that's where we're starting our ranking to present time. I'm so excited. Okay, let's get right into it, honestly. Number 7 out of the 7 films that I'm going to rank. Maybe I should name them off real quick. Okay, so we're going to be ranking these movies. Bones and All, 2022. Queer, 2024. Challengers, 2024. Call Me By Your Name, 2017. Suspiria Remake, 2018. A Bigger Splash, 2015. And I Am Love 2009. I will not be including his great TV show that he directed for HBO, We Are Who We Are. Shout out to that show, but this is a feature film ranking, so that will not be included. But let's get right into it. Number 7 will have to be I Am Love. I Am Love stars Tilda Swinton and other actors, but famously Tilda Swinton. And this movie deals with suppression of your own identity, assimilation and rejection of your own culture, suppression of desires, I think I already said that, and just self-discovery, which is a common theme for his films. And then there's the class commentary that's heavy with this film as well. I enjoyed this. I enjoyed Tilda Swinton in this. She played more of like a docile trad wife type of character, which I had not seen much from her, so I thought that was very enjoyable. But ultimately, I just felt like the characters weren't that fleshed out, or this movie just didn't feel that personal to me. Again, I enjoyed the themes. I also enjoyed the set design, like the interior of this house. Like this display of wealth was it just looked very good. Everything was aesthetically pleasing, as it is usually with Luca, and it felt very lived in. However, just emotionally, I wasn't super invested in these people. It felt like I was more so outside of, as a viewer, outside of the story, not in the story, if that makes sense. So that's why this movie is last. Okay, this next one is tea. Like, I might get some... If people watch this video, I might get some feedback for this one. But 6th place is Suspiria 2018. Let me start there. Starring Mia Goth, Dakota Johnson as the lead, Tilda Swinton again, and some other people. I wrote them down. I actually didn't. Wow. The themes of this are so exciting, and I think I really strongly liked the things that I liked and strongly disliked the things that I liked, which landed this movie in the 6th place. The themes of this movie are the complexities of womanhood, the endurance of women, looking for salvation through a false god is kind of what I wrote down. And first off, what I really love about this film, like truly stands out to me in this film, the performance is one, which I will talk about in a little bit, but the set design and the costume design and just the like world building parts of this film are so phenomenal and beautiful, and I have to give a shout out to the departments for that. Like, that is crazy. The color palettes, the textures, so rich but very suppressed. Like, I have not seen the original from the 70s because this is a remake, as I just said, but it's almost like there are so many colors, but they are completely desaturated in a way, and it just lends itself to like that suppressive feeling of living in that world during that time. Berlin in the 70s, post Second World War. It must have been tough. Yeah, that's just something I wanted to highlight, as well as the color grading. This movie, again, it just looks so good and muddy. It looks really muddy. This movie's very muddy in color, and I love that. Now, the performances. It's crazy because, like, Dakota Johnson, queen, love her in a parasocial way. Well, not love her, but I enjoy her in interviews. It's crazy how she is the lead in this, and she's carrying, and she's pulling the weight, but then also she did like Madame Web. Like, that is so tea. The spectrum, the variety, good for her. Like, rewatching this, I was so gagged, and she is in another movie that I'm gonna talk about later, and she's just such a good actress. I just think it's funny. Anyway, Tilda Swinton is incredible in this. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but she has a lot to do in this movie as well. And the way that they play off of each other, specifically Dakota Johnson and Tilda Swinton, was crack cocaine. Like, that was really, really good. Mia Goth is... I keep saying the same, like, using the same adjectives, but they're all just really, really good in this. And even though this coven doesn't get up to anything good, the sisterhood was really, like, it was really well crafted. Like, it was really believable. Another thing that is a huge highlight for me with this film is the gore, like the way that Luca approached the gore and the horror of this film, and like the physicality of the gore. There's one scene in particular, if you've seen the movie, where a dancer gets punished and essentially tortured in such a creative way. And again, I don't know if this is probably like in the book, or I think it's a book, or no, not a book, sorry, that's another movie, I'm confusing Bones and All. The original movie, Suspiria, I don't know if that's from there or if it's his idea, but the way that she gets tortured is so disgusting and like unique, and it makes you squirm, and it makes you have like this reaction, this physical, like a lot of Lucas films, which is why I love them, they put me in my body, if that makes sense. Like, I feel a lot physically, not just emotionally, when I watch his films, and that was very evident with that scene in this movie in particular. I really actually like the first 2/3 of this film. This is just a personal preference thing, which is why it's my list, my ranking. The last 15 minutes are too much for me. Even on this rewatch, this was my second rewatch, so my third watch overall, I can't deal with the last 15 minutes. Like, it's too much for me. I love a good ritual. I love a good occult moment in horror. I think that's usually really cool. And I love that women and feminism, femininity, womanhood is the essential part of that. But it's too much. Like, it goes off the rails in a way that I cannot sit through. And for that reason alone, this movie couldn't be in the top 3. Like, as much as I liked it, it goes too far for me, and this is just not a movie that I would want to rewatch. There are other movies on this list that are also hard to sit through, but I'm willing to endure it because it fills me in a way. But Suspiria doesn't fill me in a way. I just feel bad. I just feel bad. So that's the reason why this movie is 6th place. Okay, let's get into 5th place. A Bigger Splash, 2015. Yep. This movie stars Tilda Swinton again, Queenie. Ralph, I always say Fiennes, but I think it's Fiennes. I'm not actually sure, and I didn't look it up before filming. Ralph Fiennes / Fiennes, Matthias Schoenaerts, I believe, and Dakota Johnson. Again, wow, 2 queens reuniting. I really like this movie. I was surprised on my rewatch that I liked this so much. Similarly to Suspiria, this was my second rewatch, so third watch overall. And this movie's so fun. Like, it's so spunky and fun, and it feels like although it came out before that, it has a very White Lotus feel. If you watch The White Lotus, you know what I'm talking about, where it's like at the forefront are these characters in like this isolated space, which in this case is like this beautiful vacation home situation. And there's all this intrigue and deception, and there's lots of lying, and there's, again, suppression of desires, temptation versus self-restraint and control. It just felt very, I just love those type of movies where it's like we're having fun, but also there's a lot of shit going on underneath. And at the forefront are these characters. Like, I love character movies, if that makes sense. But yeah, I didn't even touch on the themes because I want to go in order. But the themes, honestly, I wrote down like loss of identity in a relationship, like codependency, and then, like I just said, temptation versus self-control, but then also oppression of women. This movie does a really good job, I think, at exploring the different ways that men oppress women and objectify women and think they're what's good for women without, like, just ask what this person wants, you know what I mean? Tilda Swinton's character, the female lead of this film, literally has no voice. Like, it doesn't get more literal. Like, she has no voice. She's a singer who lost her voice, and these two men are like on opposite ends, forcing and like battling each other essentially over the ownership of this lady and knowing what she wants. And it's like, well, no, actually you don't. So I really like this movie. And sometimes the editing as well, it felt kind of Challengers-esque, obviously not one-to-one, but it had moments where it was really moving, and it was very engaging to watch. I also think Ralph Fiennes, I genuinely think this is his best performance from the stuff that I've seen him in, and I've seen him in Conclave. He's fantastic in Conclave. But this movie, he's so eccentric and horny and just like weird, and the dynamic that's like sexual that he has with his daughter, it's just very strange, but it's just great to watch, honestly. So yeah, what I didn't love about this film, I thought it was just a little random. I felt like towards the end of the movie, the movie explored and I don't know if I'm reading too much into it, but the criminalization of immigrants in Italy, or just racism hurled at immigrants. I don't know, I thought it was with the police officer who essentially goes, well, just blame it on the immigrants, or we just blame it on these people running around here. And then the scene prior where Dakota Johnson's character gets sexualized by this random group of black men, or like I'm assuming black men in Italy. It felt out of place for me and a bit random. You know, it's like someone's like going, you know, like someone's saying something, but they don't say it fully. So like, I don't know, was I intended to see that? That's how I felt. So that was a bit confusing for me. But overall, I really like this film. I also really like that this movie goes there and actually kills off a character. It had everything. It had like intrigue. It had deception, mystery, complex characters. But yeah, I think where this movie falls short for me a little bit is just emotional weight. Like, I think I wasn't fully emotionally invested in these characters, which is totally fine. I can just be here and have a good time, which is what this movie is for me. But yeah, and I really want to go on vacation. Like, when I watch this film, like, I want to be on vacation. So yeah, that's 5th place, A Bigger Splash. Okay, number 4. Honestly, let me preface this by saying I feel like 4 and up are all fantastic movies. Like, I would genuinely say fantastic. Like, from this point on, all the movies are fantastic. But the 4th place ultimately is going to Queer 2024, starring Daniel Craig. I feel like I keep saying it wrong. Daniel Craig, Drew Starkey, Jason Schwartzman, and Leslie Manville. This movie is so fucking great. I'm so happy that Luca Guadagnino got to make this movie. Before this movie came out, I watched some interviews and he was talking about how this movie is his life's work. Like, he always wanted to make this film, and it shows. The level of care that's put into this is kind of is really tea. I think this is another one of those movies where I don't want to say if you get it, you get it, but it's like you either like this one or you don't. I don't know. The themes of this one, as suggested in the title, Queer, are about queerness, alienation, and loneliness, and trying to find love that's outside of yourself to, I think, just connect to yourself deeper, desire, love, connection. I mean, common theme for him, but the way that this movie has so much weight. Like, this movie, I didn't read the book by the same name by William S. Burroughs, I think, but just the theme of like feeling misunderstood and just so deeply desiring to be understood by the person that's in front of you that you so deeply desire. I think that's a universal truth we can all relate to. Just Lee as a character he was like a jester. He was like a clown that, you know, goes home to cry. Like, that's how I perceived him. He had this tough exterior, but he was a pathetic, lonely guy, and it was just a beautiful telling of someone who just so deeply wants to be understood, and the lengths that humans go to feel that that love and that connection. And I think it was just done so beautifully. Daniel Craig's performance, I don't know, I feel like he should have been nominated for an Oscar. I haven't seen a lot of the movies of the people that were nominated, but from what I saw in Queer, I feel like that was crazy. So, again, comedic at times, like with Jason Schwartzman's character. The friendship that they had was really intimate as well. So it wasn't just this film about love and desire and in a romantic sense, but it was also about friendship. When he returned to that place of community, pretty much the only community he had in Mexico, and his best friend was still there. Like, there's so much. Yeah, I feel like I'm talking all over the place, but this movie's really touching. And then also from like a non-acting standpoint, this movie, the set design, the way that Luca made Mexico City in the 1950s come alive and look in color is just so rich and beautiful. And it was very colorful. Well, it was not super colorful, but it was very saturated. Like, it just felt very rich. And all the jungle sequences, which I heard that they on set built like a jungle essentially. It was just it was really really immersive, and the surrealist themes as well, or surrealist visions, and just the way that it was depicted, I actually really enjoyed. Yeah, love this film. Ultimately, this movie could have been third place, and the third place movie could have been fourth place. They're not interchangeable. What's the term? You could switch them around. But this still, 4 and up. I love these movies. Okay, this next one is so near and dear to my heart. This next one is third place, going to Call Me By Your Name 2017. Guys, where would we be without this movie? Just kidding, but I really, low-key though, because this is a cult classic, like, at least in my household. Starring Timothée Chalamet, Armie Hammer, Michael Stuhlbarg. Michael Stuhlbarg. Michael Stuhlbarg. I don't know how to say these. Like, to me, this reads as German. I don't know how to say it. Michael Stuhlbarg. And Amira Kassa. And this film is just, I think this is one of my comfort films. Like, I think if I just want to feel good, feel kind of like cozied up, and I want to put on a Luca movie, I'm putting this movie on, ultimately. The movie deals with themes of, I just wrote down one thing, self-discovery through love and self-acceptance through love. The power of love, essentially. This film just is so, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just so, rewatching it, honestly, it was dreamier than ever. This movie puts you in such a dreamlike state. Like, I even told my best friend, like, after watching it, it almost felt like I was Alice in Wonderland and I want to go back. Or it's like you walk through the closet to get to Narnia. That's how this movie feels to me. Like, it really feels like this sweet, like bittersweet memory, very nostalgic, almost as if it's my own memory, and it's not, obviously. But it really puts you in the headspace of Elio and the experience of a first love and all the things that come with it emotionally as well. Like, it's just so beautiful. And I know a lot of people have an issue, which I think it's fine and correct to have that issue, but a lot of people have an issue with the age gap in this movie, as Elio is 17 and his love is 26. I'm gonna be real, it is problematic, and I don't think that's what the movie is about so much. I think the movie is about putting you in the headspace and emotional place of a teenager who falls in love with someone. The ups and downs of fighting your desire for someone, or Elio fighting his desire for Oliver, and then admitting it, but then feeling immediately very vulnerable. And so he rejects him, you know, while still idolizing him being Oliver, and then ultimately kind of surrenders to his feelings and then completely devotes himself to this person. Like, it's such an emotional roller coaster, and it's done so beautifully by Timothée Chalamet. Like, genuinely, honestly, Hall of Fame performance. Like, maybe it's because he's of my generation, and I'm that type of person that, like, looks too far ahead. Like, I'm already picturing when I'm gonna be 70 and Timothée Chalamet is gonna be 75 or whatever. I don't know how old he is, and we will all remember where we were. You know what I mean? Like, her story, that's her story. And so the performances were so beautiful, and as well as the dynamic. Like, this rewatch, I really recognized the power of the dynamic between the parents, but more so the father and Elio, the child. Like, this viewing, I really more so experienced it from the parents' POV. Like, before, when I would watch Call Me By Your Name, I would feel heartbroken for Elio, and I would feel really sad for him that he didn't get this thing, and it's unfair and it's upsetting. But now on my rewatch, I was more than anything, it just felt very bittersweet. And it's like this, having to watch your kid go through an experience and make their own experiences, but you know they will come out on the other side just fine eventually. But it's like this bittersweet thing, you know, where you can't hold their hand through that. And Michael Stuhlbarg's monologue, like, yeah, that was crazy. And something else I wrote down and picked up on is how in I Am Love, which if you've seen it, you've seen it, but I will just give you an example. In I Am Love, the dynamic between Tilda Swinton's character as the mother and her daughter is that her daughter's actions inspire or kind of confront Tilda Swinton's character's inactions and then push her to make a change. And in this movie, it's kind of the opposite, where Elio's father's inactions kind of inspire Elio to, like, sit with his feelings, take life by the reins, appreciate what just happened, and to not suppress it. You know what I mean? And let it happen, and go through whatever he's going through. So I thought that was interesting. It's almost kind of like a flip situation, and it was just really beautiful. But another thing that I love about Call Me By Your Name is the nature and the way nature is depicted. Like, I would argue nature is a second, or like a very important character of its own in this film. Like, the nature reflects back to us Elio's inner world. Everything is buzzing around him, everything is living around him just like he is. It's the summertime, he's in Italy, he's young, he's brazen, he's got this girl that he like he's feeling on top of the world probably. And then even in other moments, like the waterfall scene, which, oh my god, that scene is actually historic. Like, sorry, I just sneezed and I cut it. The waterfall being metaphorically representative of this force, this raw and free expression of their love. I don't know, I interpret it as that, and as a beautiful thing. And this movie's just so fucking gorgeous, and it's also very ASMR-y. Like, I just love this film. Didn't even talk about the score. slash soundtrack. Guys, this Mystery of Love wouldn't exist without this movie. Like, I need all of us to sit with that. All of us have Mystery of Love in some playlist. Thank You to Call Me By Your Name. Like, that's really crazy. So yeah, there's nothing really I dislike about this film. I guess I don't love that Armie Hammer is like in it, but I think he's good in it. I think there are some moments where Armie Hammer is sometimes there were moments where I'm like, I don't really buy that delivery. Like, sometimes the way he said some lines, I'm like, I don't know, but he was still good in it. And yeah, it's a great film. It really does feel like a bittersweet memory that's my own, but it's not. Okay, my camera keeps, like, my screen recording keeps stopping. We will push through. 2 movies left to go. Okay, number 2 on this list, which could honestly be number 1. Yeah, it could. Is Bones and All 2022. I adore this film. Starring Taylor Russell, Timothée Chalamet, Mark Rylance, Chloe Sevigny. I'm forgetting someone really important. Oh, Mark Strubeck again. This film is so beautiful. It deals with the themes of chosen family, trying to break generational curses, like, wow, loneliness, survival. Like, the way that this movie tackles everyday survival is just so stunning. And just trying to find connection through hard times. That's how those are the themes to me. And yeah, starting right off with the theme of survival, because I think it's not survival in the sense that this is a horror movie, but it's not survival in the sense of like someone is chasing after you and you're trying to survive, like, not Final Girl-esque, but true everyday survival of everyday people. Like, these 2 characters, these 2 leads who are on the outskirts of society, and rightfully so, obviously, because they're cannibals, but who have been abandoned by or rejected by their family, by their parents, who are just trying to make it by and find any type of joy to keep going and to not end up like their parents. Like, guys, that's actually so fucking real. And the way that it's connected to romance and love and finding, like, shelter and unlearning shame with someone else. Like, this movie really, really, really gets to me. Like, emotionally, this movie, in the most beautiful way, like, really wears me down. And it's one of those where I'm, like, grateful for it. You know what I mean? And then just in terms of locations, like, this movie is set in, like, different parts of America, but they're all kind of, like, rural America, kind of like these almost like abandoned not abandoned, but very vast landscapes, very just lonely, just underscores the loneliness of the film and that the characters go through, and that they're trying to, like, push up against and still find happiness of sorts. It's just so beautiful. Like, that last scene where Lee, who's played by Timothée Chalamet, confesses to the murder of his father. Where they shot that, it breaks my brain. Like, I don't know who was in charge of finding the locations for this thing, but it's insane. And what I also love about this film is that it kind of sheds light on the importance of following your instincts in a way that I think hasn't really been explored to that extent in Luca movies. Like, the importance of following your instincts in terms of, like, physical safety, like, physical as in, is someone after me, will I be targeted, whatever, but then also emotionally, you know, figuring out or trying to maneuver how to know who to trust and when. And because you do need, for survival, you do need other people and you need connections. I just think it's so beautiful. And, you know, the cannibalism is there. It's there. I think it's used effectively as, like, a metaphor. I saw it as a metaphor for love, for, like, it's, like, the highest form of love, I guess. You know, bones and all, love is all consuming. And I don't know, I just think I think it's a common trope, cannibalism, I believe, in media, to explore love and desire and things like that. But I think it's done in such a beautiful way in this film that I really appreciate. And yeah, the performances are so incredible. I mean, Taylor Russell in this film, truly, I don't think there are a lot of movies where Timothée Chalamet gets outshined in terms of performance, but this is one of them. I mean, Taylor Russell, if she stops acting tomorrow, it would be sad, but she still has this movie, you know what I mean? Or she just gave it her all. Like, we go through so much with her, and I just really love this film. Another one where the score is so subtle and like little string instruments, and like it's not over the top, but it's just so, it really is so romantic. And that's what I love about this movie, is it really is horror. I mean, the gore is there. It's a very gory, it's a very disgusting movie in terms of, you know, people eating flesh and talking about eating flesh and talking about eating bones and whatever. But the romance doesn't fall short at all. Like, it really is the perfect blend of those two genres. And it's like polar extremes to combine those genres. So I think that must have been a lot to to do. And so shout out to Luca, shout out to the person who wrote the book, I believe, that this is based off of. And shout out to, I didn't look up their name, but I believe the person who wrote the screenplay is David Kayaganoch or Kayaganoch. I will look that up, but this movie is just, it's a 10 out of 10, honestly. Okay, last but not least, certainly not least, is First Place, which is Challengers 2024. If you know anything about me, you know that this is my number one. This was my favorite movie that came out last year, I think. I don't know, I feel like this movie does so much. Like, I almost feel like I don't know how to summarize how I feel about this film, because I have so many thoughts. I almost feel the need to like pull back and keep this really short and sweet. So that's what I would try to do. Challengers stars Zendaya, I almost said Patrick, Josh O'Connor, and Mike Feist. And it's about competition. It's about drive. It's about passion. It's about betrayal of yourself and other people. It's about desire and rivalry and pride. And it's kind of about, if we're honest, it's kind of about, I don't want to say the negative parts of humans and how we interact with each other, but it's very Martian, I feel like, this movie. And I love it for it. Like, this movie does so much. I mean, from the character dynamics, I love a movie that's like, I guess that's every movie, but this movie especially is more character focused than anything, because the plot is whatever. So kind of like the plot is whatever. It's people who used to play tennis that will play tennis. Like, okay. But the meat and the potatoes isn't the dynamics and the way that these people interact with each other and what it says about them and all the deception and what's unspoken. And it's just like, it's a feast for like psychoanalyzing people. Like, I just really love this film for that matter. The dynamics are so weird. Like, it's so weird. Like, you can watch this movie one time and feel this way about these two characters or about this character, and then watch it another time and feel the complete opposite way. Like, there's so much to unpack. And that's also what I like about this film, how polarizing it is and how Tashi is a true anti-hero. And we don't get a lot of, especially Black female anti-heroes, I feel like. So I'm Tashi, I'm putting you in the, thank you. There's just so much to, this movie gets such a strong reaction out of people, I feel like. Like, there's a pool of people that are like, this was a nothing burger. Like, this was literally nothing. Like, what an empty soul of a movie. And then there are other people that are like, holy fuck, this was like really whatever. And then there are other people who just, you're coming here for men kissing and like phallic imagery and whatever, or you're just coming here for like some good use of music in a film. Like, there's just so much that this movie's doing successfully at that I applaud. I just want to highlight the scene on the rocks. I've seen this movie. This is actually my most watched movie in theaters ever. I think I've seen this movie, oh my god, holy fuck, I think I've seen this movie 7 or 8 times in theaters, because I also just watched it. It was re-released here in like little art house cinemas, and so I went and watched it with a friend. So I guess I've seen it 8 times in theaters. Yeah, what was my point? Oh yeah, the scene on the rocks, genuinely every time it happens, it puts me in this hypnotic state, and it does something to me. The use of music in this film is so succinct and so perfect that I don't know how to not fall. Like, how can you not fall, almost like fall victim to the seduction of this movie? Like, this movie is very seductive, you know, the way that, again, it plays with sexual tension and then it draws it back completely. Like, we'll have this sauna scene and then we're back on the tennis court, and it's kind of, it just puts you in this new energy. It's like this movie throughout has beats where it just charges you up, and it's like you're like jolted awake because it does something to you. And I just think this movie is such a masterpiece. Like, honestly, the performances were amazing. I think this is Zendaya's best performance, personally. Every scene she's eating up in this film, and everyone's just so good. Like, everyone's bringing their A game. The, like, cinematographer, the scene where we're underneath the tennis court. Ooh, my brain hurts. Like, so magical, so fun. Like, I love a fun movie that has, like, psychological elements, or, like, psychological power dynamic, weirdness dynamic, whatever. I can't even speak. Stuff in it, but also is kind of just fun. That's what gets me. Like, that's what gets me. This movie is just a good time, and the way it concludes, history. Cinema, really. That's Challengers in number 1. I wouldn't know where else to place it. Like, that's another thing with, like, Bones and All, I love you, but Bones and All, you're not Challengers, and that's fine, but Challengers is in its own lane for me. I'm so excited to watch more Luca Guadagnino projects, and see, maybe, who knows, maybe in like, because he does like 3 projects a year, so maybe in like 5 years I'll make a new ranking. But that's my ranking for now. Thank you so much for watching. This video was very long, and I'm not gonna lie, a headache to film, but I'm glad I did. And love you. He's not gonna watch this probably, but love you, Luca Guadagnino. Thank you for your hard work, and thank you to everybody who was involved in the project. Like, that's truly crazy. To me, a very important director. So, yeah. 2 thumbs up felt so lame, but whatever. Thanks for watching, and have a good day. See you next week. Goodbye.